Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing and Freedom Journey. Mark DeJesus here. I am your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. I'm all about mental, emotional, and relationship health, and if you are too, you have arrived at a great place. Today, I want to get into the subject of love bombing. Yes, we're going to get into love bombing. Have you practiced love bombing? Or let me ask it this way. Have you been under the influence of someone else who love bombed you? This broadcast is designed to help you discern this dysfunctional pattern, this dysfunctional habit. It's very unhealthy, and it can even be very controlling and manipulative. I want to get into what is it and how does it get into our lives? Now, because of the woundedness of our life, and the lack of emotional equipping, our definition of what love is can be confusing. It can be distorted. So because of an unhealthy lens of what love is, we can become vulnerable to someone else love bombing us or us practicing love bombing as a way of relating, especially when it comes into stepping into a new relationship. So as you heal from dysfunctional relationship patterns, you may find that this is something you'll need to get some detoxing from in your journey. And I think that it'd be helpful for us in compassionate grace, not beating yourself up, but in sobriety to see this pattern because it distorts what true love is. And it can get us down some very unhealthy paths. Now, usually love bombing is talked a lot when it comes to dating a toxic person. That's often a big area that people culturally talk about love bombing. But I also want you to see this in where it applies in friendships, where it can apply in business relationships. Boy, can we see this a lot, where people enter into business connections a little too fast, a little too quickly, big commitments too fast, and even church and ministry relationships, because I have seen love bombing a lot in church and in ministry avenues. It can become, unfortunately, a hotbed for this kind of stuff to happen, especially because we need people to help us run things and direct things, and we can prematurely enter into stages of highly committed relationships without the relationship having its proper timing and going through its proper seasoning. So we'll get into that. But what is love bombing? Well, it's an intense way of relating where one shows excessive displays of attention, praise, or affection towards someone else prematurely. When we talk about love bombing is really about too much, too soon. You want to summarize it. Now, I believe that many people are love bombers, and they do it because of emotional immaturity. They do it because of ignorance. They're immature and they just don't know any other way, so they just kind of fall into this pattern. I also believe that there are those that use this as a very manipulative, controlling, and dangerous tactic. So I think we need to have discernment towards this and seeing it, because love bombers will shower someone with heavy amounts of words, gifts, or affections at an early stage. It's often beyond what's reasonable, and it's often beyond someone's comfort level. It can include grandiose declarations about the future of the relationship. And so if pulled in by this love bombing, it creates unrealistic expectations of the relationship. And it can open us up to manipulation and control tactics that will be used by the love bomber. Okay, so in just a baseline discerning love bombing, there's a couple things we need to recognize. The level of praise and adoration, attention, all that, it's just too much. It can often involve flattery. And flattery is excessive and insincere praise, and it's given to eventually further someone's self-interest or their agenda or what they want. Too much of exchanges with people is as an agenda being infiltrated. I see this a lot in church. We want to really connect with someone so that we can, and these tactics need to be discerned. Again, number two, it's too much too soon. It doesn't let the relationship take its course organically. And I'm going to repeat this a lot because this is the healing cure for this dysfunctional pattern, is letting the process take its course so that the fruit shows and the steps that are taken are not just giant leaps that we don't know anything about the person. I believe many unhealthy ministry alliances and even church elevation of people in leadership, there's a lot of problems that take place because they jumped in too prematurely. And so then what happens is the expectations don't match healthy pacing of relationship development. Okay, so this is kind of a start for discernment. I'm going to get into some types in just a moment, but why is it important to discern this? And because I have a flag for love bombing, and I think you should too. And I think it's important to be aware of where someone's love bombing you or where you've been love bombing. And so I know the more intense someone's love bombing me, the quicker I know this person's probably they're actually going to disappear very soon because it's too much too soon. I'm not, and don't mistake this, that you sharing, Mark, you've changed my life by your teachings. It's helped me so much. I'm forever grateful. All those things are great. It's not that. It's intense interactions where people come up to me and go, after they've seen me once speak, it's the initial introduction. Hi, I want to do what you do, and I'm going to go with you. There's these grandiose committal statements. I'm going to go with you. I want to travel with you. I want to do what you do. I want to be trained by you. I want to do. It's all these intense things. I know in that moment, A, I probably never see this person ever again because this is what they do. They bomb heavily and then they don't follow through. B, very, very quickly, this person's going to get offended because they're going to find out I'm a human being and I'm not going to match their expectation, their grandiose picture of what they want me to be. I'm not going to match their expectations that are too intense too soon. They're going to be disappointed. So people often jump into things way, way too heavy. Now, it's important to discern because love bombing shows that we can confuse love with infatuation and obsession. I'm in a journey of helping my brothers and sisters regulate what true love is and getting grounded in love versus chasing highs all the time and chasing infatuation, chasing obsession, chasing this sense of really what the Bible calls lusts and just affections and emotions that just pull at us and calling that love and thinking that's what it is, and really it's immaturity. Love bombing also reveals our emotional neglect wounds and our lack of equipping in love. It's revealing we're needing some work in this area. Love bombing also empowers manipulative and controlling people. And here's how I look at it. I don't want to manipulate or control anyone. I also don't want to be manipulated or controlled by anyone. And I would encourage you to have the same mentality, that we can all mutually learn and grow what love, because love is very freeing. Love is a decision and choice. It also creates freedom. It's not you controlling another person. In fact, love isn't even looking for something back in return. It's not obsessed with that. It gives out freely, okay? But we want to be aware, because when we operate in true love, manipulative people, they try all their tactics and it just doesn't work because we're not chasing highs. We're going to let this relationship take its course. And that frustrates love bombers because they want to speed up the process. And like I mentioned, number 4 here, it prevents the organic progression of the relationship. Now, I think specifically this is important to discern because love bombing can be a practice of church or ministry cults, but it can also be a practice of business cults. Yes, there are business cults. And this can happen in a lot of different arenas. A super over-the-top showing of affection, a super over-the-top communication of you're amazing, you're going to do great things, it's going to be so awesome, and it can be a tactic to bring someone into the group. But then over time, as you've gotten sucked in and been high committal, you start to see the true colors. And you go, this is really dysfunctional. I got to get out of here. And now it becomes difficult to unglue yourself. And you say, well, Mark, how do I prevent that from happening? Well, sometimes you learn the hard way. So you gotta learn, because sometimes people are obsessed with not making any relational error in their decisions. But when we take our time and there's no having a pressure to get an agenda moving, and that actually prevents these kind of people from infiltrating and getting their way. I frustrate a lot of love bombers because I take my time getting to know people. I've frustrated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of love bombers. They come in hot and strong. And it's like, nope, that's not a good, let's start over. But it's a way of bringing people in, and businesses can do this too. You even see this. One example is multi-level marketing companies that they want to recruit people and bring people in. So they super high love bomb you, and you're amazing, you're awesome, you got this potential, bring you in, and then it's like you're not bringing the results, so they just kind of move on from you, and then they're like, well, you're not doing enough, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, whatever. But then it's kind of like they move on from you, and now the relationships hurt. Because usually multi-level marketers are bringing friends in, and then they're losing friends, and for the sake of their bottom line, I'm going after my business prize. And churches and ministries do that too. They can spit people out, and when they're not being used for the agenda, you can't bring any value. I watch this over and over again. I've watched it happen to myself, where I felt just dismissed. It was like love bombing, then just dismissed. I saw people who they operated in this way, love bombed by people, they wanted to use them. They weren't just interested in building relationship. They just wanted to use people. And so I want to get into some types of this. I want to get into some types of love bombers, because this is going to help us in our discernment, so we can be able to see these in our lives, in our culture, so we can not allow their tactics to infiltrate and take over. So let's take some time to talk about types of love bombers. This might be interesting for your life and journey, and for your discernment, and to understand how this impacts relationships and ways that love bombing comes across. Let's get into this. The first is the super needy. And in this case, they love bomb so intensely because they're so empty. But they also need you to love them back in the same way they're loving you. There's a lot of neglect. There's a lot of emptiness that they carry. And so with that, they have a great sense of desperation. And one of the things I like to teach people is that relationship does not get cultivated in a healthy way if it's heavily fueled by desperation. Sometimes Christians, when they talk about their walk with God, they can talk about it in such an intense way of, I'm so desperate for you, God. And there's even a song we used to sing in the 90s, I'm desperate for you. And there's an aspect we need to understand of the Christian journey is not built upon desperation, because desperation is, I am so empty and I need this major thing to happen, and I need to feel it in a certain way to then be able to experience healing and freedom in my life. I'm desperate for connection. I'm desperate. I'm super needy. So then we need these over-the-top kind of experiences with God in order to feel validated, and we can need and require these over-the-top reciprocal things from other people. So needy love bombers get resentful when you don't reciprocate or give them attention or give them the reassurance or the feedback, that they're looking for. Because while they can appear very loving, they can also be very, very demanding in their neediness. The second is the dumpers, the dumpas. And these are the ones that share too much too soon. And listen, we've all done this. We've all gone, yeah, that was too much. And don't shame yourself. Just regulate. Let yourself get recalibrated. But they share deep personal things too soon, right away. They feel this need they got to get it all out. Many become obsessive about needing to get their story out. I have many that I encourage to talk to. Okay, bring it down a little bit. You don't have to share so much. I know I've felt this too, and in my brokenness and pain, it's like, I got to get this full story out, or you're not going to understand. And it becomes a dysfunctional way of relating. So dumpers share way too much, way too soon. The declarers, these are the ones that proclaim big things too soon. This comes out, and I've shared examples of this where somebody will just meet me, they'll watch one video, will see me teach or speak somewhere, and it's like they walk up to me and they go, Mark, this is amazing. This is so life-changing. I want to join with you. I want to go with you. They start making all these promises and all these declarations. And it's like, whoa. Just bring it down a bit. We need to take this one step at a time. I know if somebody is speaking at that kind of level, I'm going to support you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this. They make these big declarations. I know most likely I may not even see this person again. That's often what happens. And I know that at some point they're probably going to get offended because they don't know me yet. And you've put me in some place that you need to see I'm a human. I'm just like everybody else. And yes, I happen to have in areas that are helpful for your life and for your journey, right? And so it's been something for me to be aware of. It's for you to be aware of with those you interact too. Here's another one, the love bombing bashers. Love bombing bashers, what they do is they tell you how bad everyone else is and how amazing you are. So they'll tell, people in the past, they didn't understand, but you understand. People in the past, they didn't love me, but you're so loving. I always have flags for this where people demonize the people in the past in perspective of glorifying you. It's a sign of immaturity. It's a sign that they're seeing past things through a black and white lens, probably not seeing it in perspective and in a negative way, and then they're not seeing things in a healthy perspective when they're talking to you. Then there's the users, number 5. These are love bombers who they have an agenda, and they have a way of manipulating and using affection, attention, gifts, because at the end of the day, they want something from you. Churches and ministries can be filled with this. Businesses can be filled with this, where there's a level of influence, there's a level of finances, there's a level of success, there's a level of maybe even fame, notoriety that you have, and they want to step into that, and they want to utilize that. The users come out when it's time to try to have an agenda, but they'll use love bombing as a way of schmoozing, as a way of trying to get some kind of intended goal to happen. But they act like they are interested in relationship, but they're love bombing. And love bombing is a way of trying to shortcut the process. Let me get to a deeper, intimate place by taking this step so that then I can get there. Moving deeper into problematic behaviors is the abusers. And abusers, they will love bomb as a gateway of getting into someone's life so they can manipulate and control them. Because abusers know in order to get into a relationship and manipulate, they need to be able to use love bombing techniques, but they often turn on a dime. And then you see the dark part of who they are. Now, you can prevent this by letting relationships happen in their proper timing and not rushing it faster than it needs to. Okay? That's really the secret key to all of this. Growing in maturity, that we can not get so lost in that, and 2, letting a relationship take its course. Then there's the fabricated. These are the over-the-top praisers with affection, but it's a mask that they wear. It's how they relate in relationship. And they become highly fabricated where it's like they don't even know how to take that mask off. So they're super loving, super spiritual, super joyful, super happy, super affectionate, lovey-dovey, amazing, and you're amazing. And it's like this all the time. Now, I know when they go home and they're by themselves at night, the mask comes off. I know when they're by themselves with their spouse or with their children, eventually the mask comes off. But when they're in public, it's like you never see the real them. They have a life where they've never been allowed to be the real self. And so this goes back years and years because people that have heavy fabricated masks, it's hard to get them unglued from it because they don't know any other way to relate because they don't feel that they're loved in just being themselves. They feel they have to play this role and they're petrified of rejection. And so we'll see this a lot in churches where it's just loving over the top, and it's too much, but they don't know how to live any other way. And it becomes very difficult to help them disconnect from it, which leads me to one of the most challenging ones, which is the narcissist. And I've done a series on narcissists. I have a lot of materials on the impact of narcissism. Love bombing is used by narcissists as a quick way to skip past the process of growing relationship, to loop somebody in, adoration and praise over you, and big over-the-top presentation of who I am. Narcissists spend a lot of their time feeding the highly constructed image that they've created. So they intensely shower you with love so you don't have any time, and it's not even love, but they shower you with this affection and attention so you don't have any time to stop, pause, and just get to know the person. Because narcissists, they fear intimacy. They fear you seeing their flaws. They fear you seeing their baggage. So they do everything they can to keep the highly constructed image at work. Once you start to get a little closer and you start to see the real them and the image starts to collapse, then they have to do something to back away from you. And usually what it is they have to then hate bomb on you in the sense of, or shame bomb you, where they start to bring out your flaws and your issues and why they can't be close to you. They find some way to disqualify the relationship so they can back out and move on with their life and their journey. As narcissists always have a trail of broken relationships. So they continue on their journey of continuing to be fabricated and love bomb and keep this highly constructed image that they present to people. Now, for many of you, just note, if you love bomb, it doesn't automatically mean you're a narcissist. Okay, so let me just up front, just kind of squash that. But narcissists love bomb. But because you love bomb doesn't mean you're a narcissist. Okay, so everybody take a deep breath. So let's be honest. What makes us so vulnerable to love bombing? And I want this to be looked at with sobriety, not beating yourself up, not shaming yourself. But listen, number one at the top of the list, we all have a need for love. We all need love. And we can all be vulnerable to love bombing because love bombing can hit the insecure, unloved places of our hearts. And sometimes we feel we need to love bomb in order to belong. We feel like we have to be over the top to fit in. Our brokenness can fuel all this. And so a need to be loved is not wrong. It's just where we go with it that can then become unhealthy and dysfunctional. Now, it goes back to our fathering and mothering, whether or not we were settled and rooted in that, because here's what happens with love bombing kind of practices. We have this emptiness, we have lack of fathering and mothering, right? So we look for heroes to rescue us, and usually superheroes. We want to put the cape on somebody. Now, there is one superhero, his name is Jesus Christ, but we want to put this on people because we're so empty, we're so needy. Now, what we need is a tribe. We need friends and teachers and mentors and people that all contribute to the beauty of what God's doing in our life. But we tend to look for that superstar. And if you're looking for that superstar person, it'll lead to a trap of love bombing. It will also set you up to being manipulated by potential cult leaders as well too, because they prey on people that are looking for a superhero, and then they fit that image. In the church, we have a tendency to prop up people. I mean, outside the church, we do this too, in and out of the church. But we like to prop up people, put them on high pedestals, amazing, amazing teacher, speaker, preacher, author, whatever. And then they disappoint us and we shove them down off of it, right? We do have a tendency. The apostles had to fight this off because they'd have miracle things happening and they'd want to take the apostles and put them on their shoulders and, hey, you guys are gods, you're amazing. And they're like, no, stop this right now. They had to really fight this off. But in today's culture, we encourage this hero worship. We encourage trying to get people to be heroes in these places, whereas in the early church, they really fought this off. And when you looked at the body, you saw the body of Christ versus these people that were propped up as like, they're the amazing, amazing people, and we all look to them. Another reason is that we're emotionally neglected. And in neglect, it leaves this vacuum, and the vacuum looks to get filled with whatever will present itself. and we're ill-equipped. And so hopefully this can be an added resource to your journey to help you to discern. And listen, understand this in grace. When you're emotionally starving and junk food shows up, being somebody love bombs, you can be prone to taking it in or utilizing it, even if it lacks proper nutrition. But when you're starving, you don't care. You just eat anything, right? So just because you're starving, remind yourself, I need nutrition, even though I could get easily pulled. And nutrition is healthy relationships that take their time. And I say this often in interactions. I can frustrate people when it comes to relationship development because I'm willing to take my time. I'm willing not to rush. Let's see. And that frustrates people that have agendas and they want to push things because they have a need to accomplish something, a need to go somewhere or be something. That's getting burned out of my life. So I'm moving in a different direction. I'd rather let organic relationships take its course because that's where long-term effectiveness happens. The relationships have gone through the test of time. They've had time to work through. And this is why in the church we should not prematurely put people into positions or into leadership. We're such in a hurry to get volunteers, to get people in there, and then we see the damage out of these premature decisions. Whereas the Bible talks, let them be proved. Let people who are, they're going to be put in these positions of shepherding or leadership or oversight, let them be proven. Why? To see their character. Because to see your character, it takes time. But we want to fast track. We don't want God's timing process. So number 4 is we respond to our emptiness with desperation. We seek this high. We meet a person and we want to go, this is it. We want to shortcut everything, desperation, intensity. And I understand this emotion. I understand this place. But we don't want to respond to desperation with lust, desperation with a high, desperation with an addiction, desperation with infatuation. We want to respond to desperation with love, and love's going to settle us. Love's going to recalibrate us. We become vulnerable, though, to number 5. We have a tendency to embrace grandiose statements, right? Grandiose statements get our attention. They impress us, right? They draw on our desire for miraculous things. But over time, we have to realize our vulnerability. We kind of always want things to be this high level. It's got to be all the way up here. It's okay. Peter did that. Jesus, I will go with you forever. I will always be with you. Jesus is like, Peter, you're actually going to deny me. No way. Right? So Peter had to go through that. You and I have to go through that. God's calibrating. We make these big promises. We make these big statements. Some people even make these big vows, and then we fuss over our vows. Did I make a vow? Did I make them? Right? Make these grandiose statements because that's how we think, God wants it. God, I will always, kind of statements. Instead, just walk the journey because that's what love does. It empowers our hope. It empowers our faith one step at a time. So as a place of application, I want to encourage you, be aware of where broken areas of your heart seek to love bomb or get sucked in by love bombing. Be wary of getting sucked into excessive flattery or declarations that people make to you, because maturity is going to tell us to let relationships take their organic course of development. So beware of ministry alliances too quickly, businesses alliance too quickly. You're going to be my best friend. We're going to go to, right? Many people have been hurt in church and in ministry. And when they look at what happened, one of the common factors is jumping into something too quickly, didn't let the process take shape. And so in that, let's be more aware of communicating our boundaries and our pacing of life, that we're not in a hurry. And it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to go, I'll take my time. And I think it's important to welcome support from trusted friends or mentors or even a professional if needed to give you feedback that, hey, too much, too soon. Take your time in this. I think the sequence of dating relationship is a great example because you meet someone, there's like maybe a friendship level. I often recommend, finding good communities of friendships, because sometimes out of that, it can spark a potential romantic opportunity of dating, and then you're dating, and dating moves to engagement, right? And dating's more serious than friendship. Engagement's even more serious because now you're looking into this relationship. Maybe you're getting premarital counseling, right? And then you move into marriage. Many people in church life, in business life, in just commitments, they often get married and they haven't even gotten through the get to know you stage. And so I think there's wisdom in this process of what it looks like to see through the love bombing that's out there and take healthier steps in our life and in our journey. Was this a help for you? If it was, would you let me know? Hit the like and subscribe button. Go over to markdejesus.com and you can support these videos with a one-time donation or become a regular supporter. You can also get a hold of my latest book, The OCD Healing Journey, which helps break down the obsessive compulsive struggle that many deal with and perfectionistic aspects that they battle with. And it's a very, very helpful resource. I also have a healing and freedom community for those that want to make a deeper investment. On this membership site is my library of training materials that I'm developing, the latest one being the OCD Healing Journey training course, and more expansive teaching based on the book material. It's been a delight to put that together. Well, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. It's your brother from another mother saying I'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime, I'm out.